XRP Ripple is showing very strong signals that it's going to explode over 60 cents. That's almost a 50% increase over the coming days and weeks. And today we're going to go into the detailed technical reasons of why. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Let's dive into XRP. We did a video on XRP on the 23rd of September saying, look, we've seen the explosion, but it's now the right time to buy. And the key thing that we're identifying, and we're going to go into a lot of detail today, that you're going to see this just unfolding almost perfectly. This wave 4 has unfolded in a textbook fashion. We're going to go into great detail on how you can leverage this information and get ready for the pretty much an explosion, which is more than likely over the coming days and weeks. So if you want to learn how to read the markets, because we're going to go over one of the secrets today, but I teach the 4 secrets in my free crypto trading masterclass. The link's in the description below. However, I'm going to give you a bit more info on that later on. Let's dive into XRP and see what is happening. So one of the key things when it comes to markets is pattern position. And what you want to really understand is markets are driven by crowd psychology, human emotion, fear and greed. And when there's a lot of volume, this fear and greed plays out and it becomes identifiable in advance. So now I've got a lot going on the chart right now, but we're really going to break it down. We're going to break down the psychology of these waves and what's very likely to occur at this point over here. There's something very special happening over here, and it's highly probable we're going to see this surge to this range over here, which is the 60 cent plus range, and then probably going to see another correction before we see another surge. So again, I cover this in more detail in the 4 Secrets Crypto Trading Masterclass because everything is difficult before it's easy. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to do 4 degrees of wave counts. You normally only need 2, but I really want to get something special across to you today so you can see XRP from a different lens and a different angle. So basics first. Markets move in 5s and 3s. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, this wave here tends to break down to a 5 wave in itself. This wave down here tends to break down into a 3 wave structure. This wave down here is the wave that we're currently on, tends to also break down into a 3 wave structure more often than not. And this one over here in a 5 wave structure. Like, okay, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? So when we're looking at this red line over here, I'm going to refer to this part of the market. This part of the market is making some really, really clear patterns. And we're going to look at this section here, which is this section here, because we're going to really break down these waves within the waves. And that's really, really important. So what's happening on a macro scale, just on a slightly bigger degree, is the green lines. So again, I'm going to go relatively detailed today. So it's almost like a mini masterclass on pattern position. But I think it's going to just blow your mind on how accurate we can be ahead of time so we can anticipate. Now, caveat. There's no guarantees, there's probabilities, never certainties, but we're going to stack those probabilities in our favor so we can see what's very likely to occur, but also what will avoid the count. What will avoid the count, really important. So we're going to look at this. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the higher level degree count. We're going to go into a lot of detail on the intermediate wave count, this red, 1, 2, 3, and it looks like we are forming this 4 in a textbook fashion before this 5. And then we're going to go into a bit more microscopic detail of how this is breaking down into this ABC structure. And then last but not least, there's some valuable information in here where this last part of the market is doing a particular pattern. And if it unfolds like this, we can practically go long with minimal capital exposure, but with some good upside movement. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And again, if you want to learn this in more depth, I've got my 4 Secrets Crypto Trading Masterclass is in the description link below. But again, I'm going to give you a bit more info on this later on in this video itself. So let's now just zoom in to this part of the market. What we want to focus on is the yellow and the red. The yellow and the red. So I'm just going to get rid of the blue for a second. We'll get rid of the green as well. So we can just really fine tune on the yellow and the red. So we're looking at 2 degrees of wave counts. And what we want to know is the pattern behavior of buying and selling that is relatively frequent, really, really frequent. So there's a few Elliott wave guidelines. So we're doing Elliott wave theory here. A genius in the 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s figured this stuff out, and it applies incredibly well to crypto. One of the guidelines is that this wave 4 over here in the red, it will tend to end in the previous wave 4 range, which is this yellow, and we're in that range. There's some Fibonacci price ratios. I go into this more detail in the masterclass, but we've got these lines over here. These are key ratios, and this is the typical maximum over here. It's called 62% retracement of wave 3. That's what we got over here. But the key thing I want to get across is wave 4s tend to be a 3-wave correction a lot of the time. And what we're seeing over here is this, and I've drawn it in yellow, is this nice A, B, C structure, right? That's textbook. So we got a few different factors, but the main thing I'm going to focus on today is pattern position. So what we're going to do now is we're going to zoom into this part here because there's something special happening, and if you can see it, we can really stack the odds in our favor and trade this. You know, whether you're trading it, whether you're buying the underlying token, there's a few different ways of profiting from this information. But what we're going to focus on now is this last part of the movement. So we can get rid of the red, and we're going to go into what's called a lower degree wave count. And what we're going to focus on is this blue. I'm going to bring it back up. So the yellow is called a wave C. And most common corrections is an A, B, C correction. It's the most common. It doesn't always occur, but it's the most common. And the thing you want to be aware of is wave Cs break down into a 5-wave structure. And when we can identify them in advance, it makes it highly probable. And it looks like we've formed a nice wave 1 of a wave C, a wave 2 of a wave C, a nice impulsive wave 3 of a wave C, and it looks like a wave 4 of a wave C, and then a final leg down is what we're anticipating. If, and the operative word is if we do get this final leg down and it goes below this low, then we could be coming towards the end of a wave 5 of a C of a 4, getting ready for the next impulse to the upside. And the typical price target is around 60 cents, which is a pretty significant move if we can get a tight entry. So a couple of things, I'm just going to clean this chart up a little bit more. I'm just going to get rid of these lines over here. We don't need this one no more. A couple of things we want to take into account is what would make this wave count invalid, and we need to reevaluate, because there are a couple of other wave counts that could be the case, is basically this over here. There's a rule in Elliott wave theory, which is wave 4s should not trade into the range of wave 1, right? So what that means, that's on the downside and the upside. So what that tells us is how the crowd is feeling. And if this wave 4 does trade into the range of wave 1, it tells us other information. It tells us actually we may have completed the wave C, and now we want to look for immediate long positions. So this is what this reflects over here. If the price goes above this point over here, we just need to reevaluate. Now again, caveat, I'm going to immense detail over here. It's advanced stuff. So in the masterclass, I break it down. In fact, let me show you what I'm going to give you in the masterclass. I've got it over here. I'm going to show it to you like this. In fact, here we go. I'm going to show it to you like this. It's the 4 secrets. It's the confluence of events that we're looking for. And what we're looking for is double time frame momentum. We're not covering that today. What we're covering today is the psychology in price patterns. That is very significant. We're doing it on 3 or 4 degrees. But then when you can stack a few other things in your favor, like measuring psychological price ratios, we've covered a few basic ones today, and then psychological time ratios. When you have 4 of those things stacking up in one direction, all of a sudden you become the casino, and it's a really high probability trade setup. Never a guarantee, so you always want to have acceptable capital exposure. And that's what I cover in the 4 Secrets Crypto Trading Masterclass, which is in the description link below. So when we're looking at XRP now, what I'm waiting for personally is this leg down. Right? It doesn't always happen, but it's likely to happen. But what will avoid it is this point here, and then this is the likely part over here. The thing I want to finish on today is, okay, if this does unfold, what would be a good trade entry? Now, you can be very conservative and go long above a swing high, or if we do get this down movement over here, then this will become the next swing high. So you can have a nice entry point in this region. If you're using a stop loss, it will be below the wave C of the wave 4. and the upside potential of the immediate move, I've used a couple of Fibonacci ratios for this. I won't go into too much detail on how I calculated these. I cover it in the masterclass. But the next ratio, the next price target that's most likely to occur, and I wouldn't be overly surprised if it overextends a bit more like we saw with Lunar Classic, because a lot of eyeballs on XRP right now because of this recent price action, is the range of around the 60 cents mark, 60 cents and going above that region. And then we'll anticipate the next move thereafter. So it's a decent move to the upside here. Probably only going to last a few days based on the whole pattern position. But remember, markets move in 5s and 3s. And if we can identify these patterns in advance, combined with double time frame momentum, price, and time ratios, all of a sudden we have a super high probability setup and we can go long with this in mind. So if you like today's content, you're going to love my masterclass. Check it out. I'd love to get your feedback. It's free. I cover the 4 secrets in depth in layman's terms because I know everything is difficult before it is easy. I'm going to finish with a quote from my book. Let's go with chapter 8 today. We're going to go with, I think it's Henry Ford, right? Chapter 8, Henry Ford. It is Henry Ford. Yes, he says, "It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste." Now's the time to sharpen your axe because crypto's here to stay. I think we're coming close to the next bull market. I know it's not close to the Bitcoin halving event, which is like in 2024, and then the next major bull market after that will be probably 2025. But based on the technicals and how the markets are playing out, we're probably going to see a nice surge in a lot of cryptos, and we're starting to see that now with Lunar Classic, with Ethereum. We're seeing it with XRP, and others are starting to take off. So we're kind of getting the signals moving into early October. So now's the time to sharpen your axe so you can maximize the probability of buying low and then selling high, depending on your strategy. If you're hodling, that's just holding the coins. That'll be slightly different if you've got a long-term plan. But if you're trading, especially with futures and CFDs and using stop losses, then the masterclass is going to be perfect for you. So let's keep a tight eye on XRP and let's see how it unfolds over the coming days and weeks.